Have you ever felt like money keeps slipping through your fingers, no matter how hard you try to hold on to it? Let me tell you a story. A gallon of paint costs $2.98. To buy it, a boy receives a crisp, new $5 bill from his father. A simple exchange, but beneath it lies a deeper message. Moments like these are how we were trained to view money as fixed, logical, and mechanical. But what if I told you that money isn't just paper, numbers, or the result of hard work? You didn't click this by accident. Some part of you already knows. Money is energy. And right now, that energy is either flowing to war, you're running in the opposite direction. Not because you're lazy, not because you're unlucky, and definitely not because you don't deserve it. It's because of something deeper. Your frequency, money, doesn't care about how hard you work. It doesn't respond to effort, desperation, or willpower. It mirrors your beliefs, your subconscious programming, your emotional relationship with it. If money feels scarce, unstable, or like it disappears as soon as you get it, the problem isn't what you're doing, it's how you're wired. Wired by parents who stressed over bills, by schools that taught obedience instead of abundance, by systems designed to keep you surviving instead of thriving. That wiring is still active, like a background virus controlling your financial life. Here's the truth. Money doesn't respond to logic, it responds to energy. You can have degrees, wake up at 5 a.m., work 18-hour days, and dream bigger than anyone around you. But if your inner signal still says, I don't have enough, the universe listens and sends more lack. Right now, you're tuned into one of two frequencies, lack or flow, and whichever one you're aligned with is shaping your reality. But here's the good news, you're not stuck. This isn't fate. You can change it. You can shift your frequency, recalibrate your energetic field, and allow wealth to find you just like oxygen fills your lungs, naturally, constantly, effortlessly. That's what this video is about. It's not just advice, it's your step-by-step guide to flipping the entire wealth paradigm in your favor. Because here's what almost no one tells you. Money isn't earned, it's allowed. And until you heal the core wound, whispering, I'm not safe to have wealth, nothing will stick. Not your budget, not your hustle, not even your most focused manifestation practice. Here's the unlock. Money is energy and your energy is the password. Let's break the illusion. Money is not a thing. It's not something handed out, earned through suffering, or awarded by merit. It's matched. It's mirrored back to you based on your inner state. Until you truly get that, you'll keep playing a rigged game, one designed to burn you out. Here's what they never taught you. Money isn't backed by gold or any real value. It's backed by Belafar collective agreement. That's the whole system. Belief equals energy. Energy equals contract. Just like the observer effect in quantum physics, your belief collapses infinite possibility into a single version of reality. If you believe money is hard, you get that version. But what happens when you believe money flows easily? That is exactly what we'll uncover next. Let's go deeper. You now know money responds to your energy, not your effort. When you start to believe that money flows to you with ease, you collapse an entirely different timeline into your present reality. The field, the universe, it doesn't respond to words, it listens to frequency. And the source of that frequency, it's your subconscious. The part of your mind you don't control with logic, willpower, or positive thinking. What's even more shocking, around 90% of it was programmed before you even learned how to speak. Read that again. This is why hard work, by itself, never guarantees wealth. It's why so many people grind through 12-hour days and still feel broke, exhausted, and stuck. And it's also why someone with less hustle but a clearer, cleaner, energetic alignment, can attract abundance effortlessly. It's not about doing more, it's about being aligned. No alignment, no flow. It's that simple. And if you ignore that truth, it becomes dangerous, because you stay locked in a cycle that looks like effort but feels like struggle. Let's go deeper. Money isn't real. Not in the way we think it is. It's not rooted in nature. It's not some sacred law of the universe. It's paper, it's digits. It's a collective belief system with incredibly effective branding. And yet, this illusion controls your life. It determines how you feel when you open your eyes in the morning. It influences how safe you feel in your own body. It shapes how worthy you believe you are as a man, a woman, a human being. Why? Because since you were a child, you've been hypnotized, conditioned to believe that money equals survival, success, and personal value. Without realizing it, you now live in service to something that only exists because we believe in it. And no, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's basic spiritual law. Money is belief made physical. Let's really look at how deep this spell goes. Imagine if every single person on earth woke up tomorrow and said, money has no value. What would happen? The system would collapse instantly. No banks, no credit, no economy. And this isn't just a theoretical idea, it's already happened. In 1920s Germany, in 2000 Zimbabwe, people were literally burning piles of cash to stay warm. Not because they ran out of money, but because the belief collapsed. Now here's the part no one ever told you. The belief system we all live under isn't neutral. It's designed, rigged, programmed to keep you believing that money is hard, to get easy to lose, only available to the lucky or the ruthless. Why? Because if they can keep you trapped in scarcity, they can keep you obedient. And this goes far beyond governments and banks. This is spiritual warfare. Let's zoom in on something most people overlook: the power of words. Words shape reality. Take the word currency. It comes from the Latin root currere, means to run, to flow. That's what money was always meant to be: movement, circulation, energy in motion. But what happens when your internal wiring is built around lack? You block the flow. You repel what you claim to want without even knowing it. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how hard you work, or how badly you want it. Somewhere along the line, the idea of money got hijacked. It stopped being flow and started becoming control. Governments, corporations, institutions, they took something fluid and froze it. They turned energy into chains. They built a system that looks like freedom, but quietly keeps your soul tethered. Debt isn't an accident. It's architecture. You were told to get an education to succeed, but what you really got was decades of repayment. You trade your time for a paycheck, not to live freely, but to just barely survive inside rules you never agreed to. That's the spell, that's the illusion. And here comes the harsh truth. It was never the money that enslaved you. It was the way they programmed you to feel about it. Because the real magic trick wasn't the paper in your wallet. It was the belief system installed into your nervous system. So the question now is, what happens when you start to rewrite that belief? Let's take that step next. You've started to see it clearly. Now it was never the money, but the belief beneath it that kept you trapped. They taught you there's never enough. that you have to hustle for every ounce of security, that your worth is tied to how productive you are, how much you sacrifice, how little you rest. But here's what they fear the most. The moment you reclaim your belief, you reclaim your power. And when you do that, the whole system starts to crack. Because the truth is, you were never meant to bow to money. You were meant to use it. Money was never supposed to be a god. It's a tool, nothing more. You were born to flow, not to fear, not to chase it down, and certainly not to grind for scraps in a system built to keep you small, exhausted, and obedient. Your real job isn't just to make more money. It's to break the trap altogether, to dismantle the silent architecture living in your subconscious. The one that whispers you're only valuable if you're suffering. But that's a lie. You were designed for abundance. That's your original blueprint. And now, it's time to return to it. Here's the secret no one teaches you. Money loves movement. It thrives in circulation. It dies in fear. When you hoard out of panic, you're not securing your future, you're casting a spell of scarcity. You're sending one loud, crystal clear signal to the universe. I don't trust the flow. I don't believe more is coming. And the universe, it mirrors exactly what you send out. Because this is the law. As within, so without. As above, so below. Your internal state becomes your external reality. Your emotional relationship with money becomes your actual bank account. If you feel safe, open, abundant money moves to you. If you tighten up, stress, or hoard it disappears. Because money is not just a number, it's current. It's energy in motion. It's called currency for a reason. It was always meant to move. But something changes when you spend with intention, when you give with confidence, when you invest not from fear, but from overflow. You flip the switch. You turn on the flow. You become magnetic to money. Not because you chase it, but because you finally stop blocking it. Because money isn't meant to sit locked away in vaults. It's meant to circulate. And one of the biggest lies you've ever been sold, that you should save everything, spend nothing, and hold on tight. Energetically, that's like holding your breath until you pass out. You don't breathe in and hold forever. You inhale, you exhale, you give, you receive. That's how energy works. That's how wealth works. You can't just take. You can't just save. You have to let it move. Wealth isn't built by how much you keep. It's activated by what you release with trust. Because wealth isn't a thing, it's a circuit. And a circuit only functions when it's open. The moment you open that flow, the system responds. Not eventually, immediately. Let me introduce you to someone. His name is Eric. He's not real. But he might as well be, because some part of you might see yourself in him. Eric is 49. He's a self-employed plumber. He's been doing it for 22 years. He's the guy people call when the ceiling collapses, when pipes burst at 3 a.m., when no one else shows. Eric does. He's not lazy. He's not reckless. He's early. He undercharges. He always does the job right. Every single time. And yet, he's broke, still chasing bills, still living paycheck to paycheck, still telling himself it's just a slow season. But the truth, Eric's not just tired. He's energetically bankrupt. He's burned out from more than just work. He's burned out from carrying a spell, the same spell you might be carrying right now. A belief that says, if I'm not struggling, I don't deserve money. If I charge more, no one will hire me. If I finally succeed, something bad will happen. What if that belief isn't protecting you at all but quietly sabotaging everything? Let's look at that next. Eric's story showed us that the real prison isn't made of bills or bad luck. It's built from old beliefs we never knew we were carrying. Eric doesn't just fix pipes. He fixes everyone else's problems. He shows up, solves the mess, keeps things running, but deep inside, there's something he's never fixed: his own internal programming. You see, Eric was never taught how to heal himself. Somewhere along the line, he learned that being a good man meant always sacrificing, that asking for more was selfish, that if he ever started earning real money, people would turn on him, call him greedy, or stop needing him altogether. So, instead of rising, he shrinks. He tells himself it's humility, but it's not. It's fear wrapped in virtue. Fear handed down from men who worked themselves into the ground and were celebrated for it. Men who died broke, but were praised for never complaining, never resting, never asking for more. Eric inherited that fear like an old watch or a rusty tool. But what he didn't inherit was the truth. Money is energy. To Eric, money isn't fluid or flowing. It's punishment. Something earned only through pain, through crawling under buildings, through backaches, through cuts and blisters. And just when he begins to get ahead, out of nowhere, unexpected bill, a broken van, a slow week, over and over. But none of it is random. It's a pattern. His nervous system is trained for one thing: survival, not abundance, not peace, not overflow. Deep in his subconscious, Eric made a decision he doesn't even remember making. If I have more, I'll lose myself. If I stop struggling, no one will need me. If I charge what I'm worth, I'll end up alone. So he keeps his prices low. Keeps saying yes when every fiber in him wants to scream no. Keeps wondering why nothing ever changes. But here's the truth. Eric isn't broken. He's just running outdated code. He's living out subconscious scripts passed down through generation scripts that no one stopped to question. And unless he rewrites those scripts, nothing will change. Not the income, not the clients, not the exhaustion. Because no matter how hard he works, his energy is still broadcasting one thing loud and clear: please don't let me thrive. Don't know who I am without the suffering. If that hits hard, it's because you've worn that same armor. You've whispered that same story to yourself. But here's the power. The spell only holds while it stays hidden. And now, you see it. You feel it. You know the pattern is exposed. And the moment awareness enters, the spell starts to dissolve. Not just for Eric, for you too. Because awareness breaks the spell. And choice, that's what rewrites the code. Now here's the truth most people never hear. You weren't born with a scarcity mindset. You inherited it. It started early. Maybe you were just a kid, asking for something simple. And someone replied, "We can't afford that," or "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Be grateful for what you have." Those weren't just offhand comments. They were commands, lines of code etched into your subconscious, burned into your nervous system like invisible scars. And every time you heard them, your body learned: money is hard. Money is limited. Wanting more is wrong. By the time you were 7, your money blueprint was already set. Not by truth, not by any divine law, but by fear, by lack, by someone else's pain. Then came school. But did anyone teach you about energy, about receiving, about wealth as a frequency? No. You were taught to sit still, memorize, follow rules, trade time for money, obey, ask for permission. But what if none of that was preparing you for freedom? What if the real education starts now? You've seen how early programming shaped your money mindset now. Let's explore how that blueprint continues to play out unless it's consciously rewritten. You were never trained for freedom. You were conditioned for survival, for the rat race. And when religion entered the picture, it added another layer of deeply rooted beliefs. You heard things like, the love of money is the root of all evil, or blessed are the poor, and you can't serve both God and money. These weren't just spiritual teachings, they became subconscious restrictions, buried in your psyche. But let's set the record straight. Money isn't evil. It's neutral. It doesn't choose sides. It only amplifies what already exists within you. If you're greedy, money makes that obvious. But if you're kind, generous, or purpose-driven, money becomes fuel for impact, a multiplier for good. So, who benefits when you believe being broke is somehow virtuous? The system, because people who are broke are easier to control, easier to silence, easier to exhaust, easier to manipulate. And it's not just beliefs, it's trauma too. Maybe you grew up watching your parents argue over bills. Maybe the money always vanished as quickly as it came in. Or every time life started to feel stable, something crashed: a job lost, an emergency, a mistake. These weren't just painful memories, they became internal warnings. They taught your body to fear money, to brace for disaster, to associate abundance with danger. So now, even when money begins to flow in, your body flinches. You pull back, you undercharge, you overgive, you self-sabotage, because somewhere deep in your nervous system, the message still plays. Money isn't safe. It will hurt me. Better to lose it before it gets taken. And as if that weren't enough, now we have social media fueling the fire. You scroll through endless wins, vacations, new homes, business deals, six-figure months, and instead of feeling uplifted, you shrink. You feel behind, inadequate, ashamed. That's not inspiration, that's energetic debt, and you're paying the interest with every comparison, every thought, every belief you absorb. All of it, your memories, emotions, inherited patterns, gets baked into your subconscious financial blueprint. And that blueprint is actively shaping your reality, whether you know it or not. But here's the power. What was programmed can be deprogrammed. And this brings us into a deeper, rarely discussed truth. One that mystics and spiritual masters have known for centuries. In Kabbalah, there's a foundational principle. Energy flows through vessels. But here's the catch: if the vessel is unstable, too small, cracked, or built from fear, the energy doesn't bless you, it breaks you. That's why some people attract large sums of money and lose it almost instantly. You've seen it maybe. You've lived it. Someone gets a raise, a settlement, a big deal, or a financial windfall, then it all falls apart. Stress spikes. Anxiety creeps in. They overspend, underperform, sabotage their progress. And before long, they're back to square one or worse. Look at lottery winners. Over 70% go broke within 5 years. Some even end up in deeper debt than before they won. Or consider professional athletes, men who spend years honing discipline, focus, and performance. Yet the moment multi-million-dollar contracts hit, they spiral. Sports Illustrated reported that 78% of NFL players are either broke or under financial stress within 2 years of retirement. And 60% of NBA players go broke within 5 years of leaving the league. These are people who had access to everything: wealth, fame, opportunity, So what went wrong? No one taught them how to reprogram their subconscious wealth identity. The money arrived fast, but without the inner foundation, it left just as quickly. So what does it really take to build a vessel strong enough to hold overflow? Let's go deeper. You saw how fragile energy fields can't hold abundance. Now, let's uncover what truly keeps that wealth from staying in your life. If deep down, you don't believe it's safe for you to hold wealth, you will subconsciously push it away. You might appear successful. You might be rich on paper. The world may even applaud your achievements. But inside, something is off. And that's the real issue. This journey isn't just about attracting money. It's about preparing your entire energetic system to hold that money, protect it, and expand with it. Because if money is energy, then your energy field is the vessel that must contain it. And if that vessel is cracked, chaotic, unstable, or wounded, money will respond as energy always does. It will overwhelm the system. It will short-circuit you. So it's not enough to call in wealth. You must be able to hold it without breaking. Here's a truth many avoid. Most people's energy fields are fragile. Not because they're broken, but because no one ever taught them how to protect their frequency. They attract money, yes, but they leak energy. So when that money finally arrives, their nervous system panics. The pressure builds. Their internal structure shatters. Suddenly, they're overwhelmed, disoriented, and in a spiral even, though they technically have more than enough. Why does this happen? Because the vessel couldn't hold the light dot. In the language of Kabbalah, this moment is known as the shattering of the vessels. It's not divine punishment. It's not bad luck. It's feedback. The energy didn't betray them. It simply revealed what was already within. Because money doesn't fix you, it amplifies you. If your system is rooted in guilt, shame, or fear, that's exactly what will swell when money enters the picture. If you don't feel safe receiving, you'll find clever ways to reject abundance. If you don't believe you're enough, you'll subconsciously sabotage success so your outer world matches your inner image. Let's be honest for a moment. You've worked so hard. You've held it together. You've carried burdens, fixed the problems, showed up, stayed quiet, pushed through, while almost no one asked how you were doing. And yet, with all that effort, when was the last time you actually felt rich? Not in your wallet, not on a spreadsheet, but in your body, in your spirit, in your soul. If you're truly honest, it's probably been a long time, because you've been leaking energy for years, not just through bills or responsibilities, but through silence, suppression, loneliness, shame. You were trained to give, but never taught how to receive. Now you carry a tired body, a cluttered mind, a quiet bitterness whispering, "What is all this for?" You don't say it aloud. You'd never admit it. But it's there lurking beneath your to-do lists and responsibilities and the hard truth. You're not just financially blocked, you're energetically blocked. You're holding the emotional weight of generations men who suffered silently, who worked themselves into the ground while hiding behind polite smiles and nods. You think it's about money, but it's not. It's about what money represents: safety, power, peace, choice, the ability to say no without guilt. And unless you heal the parts of you that feel unworthy of that kind of freedom, you'll keep chasing scraps, convincing yourself it's just survival. But it's not. And while it's not too late, you can't keep pretending. Because if you do, something dangerous happens. You keep giving your life for far less than your soul is worth. So what's next? Let's uncover the shift required to finally reclaim your power, internally and externally. You've begun to see the truth. Real wealth isn't just about what's in your account. It's about healing what's within you, so you can finally hold what life is trying to give. Still, the weight lingers. You keep waking up with anxiety, pressing against your chest, like a silent alarm your body can't turn off. You numb it with mindless scrolling, slipping through YouTube videos and distractions that blur the day away. But eventually, it catches up to you. You break quietly, bitterly, invisibly, just like your father once did, just like your grandfather, just like every man who thought money would save him without ever learning to save himself first. That's why you're here, not just for a quick fix or another tip. You've already tried the surface level solutions. Some deeper part of you knows you need more than a new strategy. You need a new frequency. You're not broken, but you must be rebuilt from the inside out. Let's imagine you're ready, truly ready, done with pretending, finished with suffering in silence. You're prepared to change everything. Good, because this is no longer about theory or motivation. It's about reprogramming your energy field and becoming the man who can carry wealth with peace, strength, and clarity. But here's the catch. Before wealth can trust you, you must first learn how to trust yourself. So, what does that look like? Step 1. Seal your energy field. Each morning, wake up without grabbing your phone. No noise. Just silence. Stand still and declare out loud. I call my energy back. I close every loop draining my power. I am safe to receive. I am ready to hold more. Then breathe slowly, like a man unafraid of stillness. Step 2. Move with value. Don't just operate as though your time is sacred. Raise your prices. Say no to those who drain you. Show up like someone who understands his energy is currency because it is. Step 3. Speak like a wealthy man. No more, I can't afford it, or maybe someday. Replace those with, wealth is finding me now. Every dollar I spend returns multiplied. My value grows daily. I am safe to receive more than ever. Even if it feels forced, say it anyway. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between lies and commands. It simply believes what it hears repeatedly. Step 4. Clean your space like royalty is coming. Your outer environment reflects your inner world. If your room is a mess, your mind is leaking power. Clean it, organize, burn something sacred. Create literal space for abundance to enter. Step 5. Night ritual. Implant wealth into your subconscious. Before bed, shut down all distractions. Sit quietly, close your eyes and say, I did enough today. I trust the process. I release control. I receive in my rest. Then visualize a wealthy version of yourself, not flashy, just free. Waking up slowly, breathing deeply, doing work you love, and no longer needing money because you're aligned with it. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the man you were before the world told you to shrink, before you learned to hide, before you started believing struggle was your destiny. This is your ritual of return to power, to peace, to wealth. And if no one ever told you this before, let me say it now. You are allowed to rise. And this time, you don't have to rise alone. But here's a truth most won't tell you. Most people will never feel wealthy, not because they lack money, but because they never learned how to recognize wealth when it's right in front of them. Now, let's explore how we redefine wealth, not by what we have, but by how we see. Real wealth begins with awareness, seeing beyond what's obvious, and recognizing the blessings that don't always come with a dollar sign attached. You've been taught to look for wealth in your digital wallet, in banking apps, or in the numbers you can count. But that's only the lowest form of abundance. The final physical outcome after wealth has already traveled through every higher plane. In truth, wealth begins in subtle, often invisible forms. Think about it. A stranger helps you without expecting anything in return. A near accident is suddenly avoided. A health scare turns out to be nothing. A draining client unexpectedly cancels their contract. A chance conversation with someone you barely know realigns your entire life. Or a delay throws off your plans but ends up protecting you from something harmful. If you don't recognize these moments as forms of currencies, you dismiss them because they aren't dollars, then you're energetically rejecting the flow of abundance without even knowing it. This is the spiritual trap. If you only count cash as wealth, then you're spiritually poor, even when life is flooding you with unseen blessings. Because the source doesn't just pay you in money, it pays in time, energy, health, protection, redirection, peace, and people. But most people are so conditioned to look only for money that when miracles arrive in disguise, they ignore them, wave them off, or worse, complain that they're still broke. Imagine this: the universe heals a sickness you didn't even know was forming. But because no money hit your account that day, you feel like you're lacking. That mindset, focusing only on visible cash, is the most dangerous kind of poverty. It's the blindness to invisible wealth. You have to change how you see. You must recognize the higher forms of wealth, those subtle, sacred signs, before the lower, tangible forms can truly stay. Why? Because there's a metaphysical law. What you recognize expands. What you ignore contracts. If you start to view every blessing, every delay, every moment of peace as a form of income, your ability to receive will expand faster than any business strategy or side hustle ever could. Why does that happen? Because you're showing the universe you're finally paying attention. You're saying, I can hold wealth in all its forms, not just cash, but energy, insight, divine timing, and flow. And when you prove you can hold it, cash becomes the byproduct, not the pursuit to the universe. A miracle costs the same. As a coin, it's all just energy. It doesn't care about your obsession with bills or bank statements. It cares about whether your energetic field is open. And your field opens the moment your perception does. So here's your next practice. Start tracking your non-monetary abundance. What showed up for you today that saved time, energy, or stress? Who offered help, guidance, or presence without being asked? What didn't happen that could have gone terribly wrong? These moments are not small. They are currency codes. They are signals of wealth. The more you notice them, the more your subconscious starts to accept the truth. You are already wealthy in ways that matter. Because here's a truth no one told you: money doesn't just respond to hard work. It responds to signals, energetic, emotional, and spiritual ones. Your bank account isn't just a record of your income, it's a reflection of your frequency. And now, let's dive deeper into how to recalibrate that frequency, so you can become the kind of person wealth naturally flows toward. When you start to recognize invisible wealth, your relationship with money begins to shift. But awareness alone isn't enough. You need to take action that speaks the language of your energy field. If your energetic frequency keeps repeating, "I'm stuck," then even when money shows up, it doesn't stay. That's why mindset by itself doesn't move mountains. You need more than just positive thinking. You need rituals, real physical actions that anchor a new signal into your body and your field. These acts show the universe that you're no longer operating from fear, but from a state of overflow, and they work quickly. Here are 3 powerful, simple rituals that directly rewire your energy system. First, the circulation spell. When money stops moving, it becomes stagnant. When you hold onto it out of fear, you block its current. This ritual instantly revives that flow. What should you do? Give a small amount of money away anonymously. It doesn't need to be big. $5 is enough. Drop it into a tip jar. Tuck it into someone's grocery cart. Pay for the coffee of the person behind you. But here's the key: do it consciously. As you give, silently affirm to yourself, "This proves I trust the flow. I allow money to move, because I know it always returns, multiplied." This isn't about charity, it's about energetic circulation. You're sending a signal to the universe. I'm not acting from lack. I'm operating from overflow. And when that current opens, it flows back to you even stronger. Second, the receipt ritual. Most people make purchases with a sense of guilt, tightness, or fear. That energetic state sends a message. I don't feel safe spending. I'm afraid this won't come back. That signal disrupts the abundance flow. This ritual corrects that frequency in the very moment money leaves your hands. What you need to do: choose a receipt from a joyful purchase, not something you needed to survive, but something that made you feel like a meal with friends, a thoughtful gift, a good book. On the back of the receipt, write, "Money returns to me multiplied with ease." Fold it neatly and place it in your wallet or purse. Every time you see it, touch it, or even sense its presence, you're reminding your subconscious, "I am the source. Money flows through me, not just to me." That's a completely different identity. And remember, the universe always responds to identity. Third, the overflow envelope. Most people treat money in only 2 ways. They spend it and feel guilty, or they save it and live in fear of losing it. This ritual introduces a third, far more powerful option: pure, sacred overflow. Here's what to do. Every time money comes in, take 5 to 10% and place it into a special envelope labeled overflow. Don't spend it. Don't save it for emergencies. Just let it accumulate. Why does this matter? Because it's physical, undeniable evidence that you're not surviving, you're living in abundance. You're not hoarding, you're declaring. That envelope becomes a visible, tangible reminder that you operate from overflow now. And the more it grows, the more your internal identity aligns with that truth. In return, the universe begins to send more money, not because you worked harder, but because your frequency is finally in resonance with abundance. These rituals aren't just habits. They're frequency codes. They reprogram your nervous system and broadcast a brand new signal to the universe. Because here's the truth: you can't just think rich. You must act in alignment with that richness. Rituals are how thoughts become formed. So don't wait for more money to start acting abundant. Send the signal today. Let the system feel your shift and watch how quickly the flow responds. In the next section, we'll explore how your environment might be silently shaping your wealth frequency and how to tune your surroundings to attract even greater abundance. Once you begin acting from a place of abundance, the universe can't help but respond. Reality starts bending to match the energy you're radiating, and that's not just theory, it's been proven through powerful real-life stories. Take Jim Carrey, for example. Long before he was a household name, when he was still a broke, struggling actor, he did something extraordinary. He wrote himself a check for $10 million, post-dated it 5 years into the future. Every single day, he would visualize cashing it. Sometimes he did this while sitting in his old car, parked along Mulholland Drive. Now, here's the wild part. Exactly 5 years later, he was offered a movie deal that paid him $10 million. A fluke. Not even close. This is what happens when your subconscious blueprint becomes so deeply embedded that reality has no choice but to align. But long before vision boards and viral manifestation trends, there was a man who quietly cracked the code. His name was Neville Goddard, and his message is still considered radical, even today. He didn't build an empire. He wasn't selling courses. He wasn't trying to be a guru. Born in 1905, Neville was a man who had experienced deep, universal truth, then dedicated his life to helping others see it to dot. Neville didn't teach manifestation through surface-level positivity. His message cuts far deeper, removing every excuse you might be hiding behind. He taught that imagination is God, and your assumptions create reality. You're not a victim of your circumstances. You're the root cause. Not in a believe and receive way. Not in a think happy thoughts kind of way. Neville taught something far more profound, that consciousness is the only reality. Everything you experience on the outside, your relationships, your finances, your so-called bad luck, simply your internal world projected outward, again and again. He repeated this truth. The world is yourself pushed out. What does that mean? It means your outer world is not shaped by your hustle, or even your intentions. It's shaped by the deepest assumptions you carry, often without realizing it. This is where Neville breaks from most modern teachings. While others encourage you to focus on what you want, Neville tells you to focus on what you assume. Because what you want might be a fantasy, but what you assume, what you live and breathe and feel from every day gets etched into your subconscious. And that's what manifests. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. You might visualize money every day, see yourself counting stacks of cash, but if your inner voice still whispers, "I'm broke," money doesn't come easy. That kind of wealth isn't for people like me, then no amount of vision boarding will make a difference. This is the heart of Neville's most important teaching. Feeling is the secret. Not thinking, not repeating affirmations like a robot. Feeling. Why? Because your subconscious doesn't understand language, understands vibration, emotion, repetition, and identity. When you feel something is true, your nervous system begins to believe it. Your energy shifts. You send out a new signal. Reality responds. Neville taught his students to assume the wish fulfilled, to mentally and emotionally live from the end. Not, "I hope it happens someday," but it already happened. I already am. I already have. Let's say your desire is to create more financial freedom. Neville wouldn't tell you to hustle harder or write a business plan. Instead, he'd take you to a completely different place. In the next part, we'll uncover exactly what Neville meant by living from the end, and how to apply this powerful principle in your everyday life to transform your financial reality from the inside out. You've already begun to understand. Your outer world follows your inner state. Now, Neville takes it a step further into the quietest moments of your day, when your mind is most open to transformation. Picture this. You're in a still, peaceful room. You close your eyes and take a deep breath. Instead of hoping or watching for money to arrive, you imagine that it already has. Not in a vague or dreamy way, but with detail. See yourself checking your bank account and noticing the balance is exactly what you desire. Imagine swiping your card without hesitation, paying bills without stress, Feel the deep relief that comes from knowing you're secure, safe, free, unburdened. Breathe that in, let it settle in your body. And as you drift to sleep, stay in that feeling. Why sleep? Because sleep is the bridge to your subconscious mind. And the emotional state you carry as you fall asleep becomes your dominant vibration. That's the frequency you continue broadcasting, even while you rest. Neville taught a technique for these final moments of your day. Something simple, but incredibly powerful. Before bed, mentally replay the events of your day. But don't just remember them, revise them. If someone dismissed you, imagine they praised you instead. If a sale fell through, picture it closing joyfully. If fear grabbed hold of you, replace that memory with calm and peace. Why does this work? Because your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined with emotion. If you feel the revision deeply enough, your subconscious stores that version as reality. And when you do this consistently, reality begins to shift quietly, sometimes suddenly to match it. But here's where many people stumble. You might ask, what if I don't believe it? That's the trap. Most of us want proof before we believe, but Neville flipped this completely. Believe it and you'll see it. Not the other way around. He knew something essential that few understand. Your outer world always lags behind your inner transformation, and most people quit too soon just before the change breaks through. That's why Neville urged persistence. Persist in the assumption, even when the outside world shows no signs. That's where most give up. They visualize abundance for a few nights, then check their empty bank account and declare, see, it didn't work. But that's the test. The universe is whispering, do you believe what you see? Or do you believe what you know? Neville had countless students who applied this and saw their lives transform. One man, desperate for work, followed Neville's advice. He imagined telling friends he'd landed a great job. He felt their joy, heard their congratulations, smiled like it had really happened. Days later, out of nowhere, a company contacted him. The job was high-paying. It fit him perfectly. Random. Not at all. It was what Neville called a bridge of incidents. Reality rearranging itself around a new assumption. But Neville's teaching cuts even deeper, and this is where many turn away. He said there is no one to change but self. No one is coming to rescue you. Not the economy, not your employer, not even a god in the sky, because you are the operant power. That responsibility makes people uncomfortable. It's easier to blame, but Neville strips away every excuse and hands you your power. You created this, so you can create something else. So why aren't you? Why are you still visualizing from a place of lack? Still scripting as if it's a duty, not a transformation. Still waiting for signs, instead of deciding it's already yours. Neville gave you the truth. Assume it is done. Feel it as already real. Persist in that feeling, and watch the world quietly reshape itself to reflect your new identity. This is not a gimmick. It's not a motivational trick. It's a law. You've been using it unconsciously your entire life. Now, it's time to use it on purpose. And behind all of this, there was a man whose name most people never hear, though his ideas influenced everything that came after.